Councilman Ricky Burgess, first of all, thank you for the offer of the guided tour. I really, really appreciate this time.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
The NRA is holding its convention here in Pittsburgh for I think it's the second time in the last 10 years they've done that. They were here in 2004, again, about 70,000 people at this convention center downtown. Tell me about your district, District 9 in Pittsburgh, and its relationship to downtown, the differences, similarities, how they're connected.
I represent the eastern part of the city of Pittsburgh. I represent the poorest area of the city of Pittsburgh. Unfortunately, the most crime-infested, the most homicides, the most drug-infested area in the city of Pittsburgh, the lowest economic standards, and it is unfortunately a very difficult place. It is a place that has been plagued by violence, by gun violence. I myself, in fact, my whole life has been the consequence of gun violence. My aunt was murdered, and my mother had a nervous breakdown, and for 30 years had a mental illness that she never recovered from. My cousins have been shot and killed. My wife's father was shot. My wife's mother, my mother-in-law, was shot and killed, who lived with us. Her brother killed someone, has spent 20 years in the penitentiary. I've adopted his son and have raised him as my own son. I actually went into ministry after my mother's sickness to kind of figure out this thing. So all of my life has been really affected with violence. My wife's cousins have been shot and killed. I've had children in my church shot and killed. I ran for council, in fact, because I just couldn't take the shootings anymore. The ease in which you can buy guns in this community is frightening. You can buy a gun from a gas station. I mean, why does individual citizens need AK-47s, M16s, AR-14s, 3 and 4 of them? You know, there's no gun manufacturers in my community. These guns are not being made. They're being brought here through straw purchasers, through gun shows, and it's turned my community into either a combination of the old Wild West or a ghost town. It's killed the businesses. It's killed the residential community. The area I represent has lost almost 75% of its population since 1968. It's just been devastating, and almost all of it leads directly or indirectly to gun violence.
What options do you feel like the city of Pittsburgh has? You as a city councilor, the city more broadly, what options do you have to try to reduce gun violence?
That makes it even sadder. It's because of the hold the NRA has on our state legislature that we're prohibited from passing any responsible gun ownership laws. When
we fight nationwide about about gun laws, one of the things that's commonly observed is that the cities really have different needs than rural areas. But the state legislation, the state law in Pennsylvania says you can't have a specific law in Pittsburgh that doesn't apply to the rest of the state. You can't solve your own city-based problems. All the laws have to be uniform for the whole state?
Yeah, I think what Mayor Bloomberg said, that when you hear the word duck in a rural community, you're talking about waterfowl and hunting. But when you hear the word duck in an urban community, you're talking about getting down and being safe. I have in my community, I have mothers who have children. They have their children sleeping in the bathtubs. I have mothers who have their children playing in basements, won't let them out on the streets because of the gun violence. Now, certainly, the urban part of Pittsburgh is completely different than the rural communities in the middle of Pennsylvania. And we absolutely need common sense gun laws. Because of the gun shows and the lax laws we have in Pennsylvania, it's a crime. It should be a crime for the way guns are flowing in the communities where I represent.
And you see that as the influence of the NRA on the state legislature?
Oh, absolutely. They control the state legislature. That's why there's no responsible handgun legislation passed in Pennsylvania. And I wish the NRA was having their convention in Homewood so they could see firsthand the effect of their lobbying on my community. In many ways, their lobbying has already sentenced my community to a death sentence.
If you in Homewood could come up with your own local gun-related policies, what do you think would work that could be enforceable, that you could imagine not only being a smart policy in terms of its goals, but actually being enforceable in terms of local law enforcement?
Well, I don't see any need to have assault rifles in the city of Pittsburgh. There is no way I would ever allow there to be assault rifles. That's number one. That has to go. One of the 3 Pittsburgh police officers were killed a couple of years ago by a mentally ill man with assault rifle. Certainly there has to be stronger background checks for people who do have guns. And third of all, I would eliminate any guns coming into this community from gun shows and things like that. Now, whether that's enforceable, that's a different question, but certainly we need to find a way to remove the guns off the streets. We have no statewide lost and stolen handgun prohibition, so a straw purchaser can buy a myriad of guns, sell them illegally, and then they're on the streets, and there's no way of tracing it back to the original owner.
Let me make sure that I understand that, because I've been reading about that, because I know that's one of the things Pittsburgh has tried, right? So if I'm a straw purchaser, I'm legally allowed to buy guns, but I'm not buying them for myself. I'm buying them in my name and then giving them to other people, and they're being used in crimes.
That's exactly right.
When the weapon gets traced back to me because I am the owner of record, I say, I lost it.
I lost it. Don't know what happened to it.
So the lost and stolen gun registry would say that it would require you to notify law enforcement if, in fact, you did have a lost or stolen weapon as soon as you realized it was gone.
That's exactly right.
Closes the loophole.
That's right.
Pittsburgh tried to do that locally as a city.
Right. And it's never been enforced because it can't be enforced because we're prohibited from enforcing that kind of law by the state legislature, period. All right, we're coming into Homewood now, and as soon as you come in, right trestle, we're going to come past right now. A woman and her sister were walking home from the library. 2 young men, 15 and 16, shot and killed her on her way home from the library on the left-hand side of the street as soon as we come into the entrance.
Was the motive robbery?
No, they were aiming at somebody else. They were aiming at, they saw a guy at the gas station. They were trying to shoot him on his way leaving. And Cheryl Esney, and they shot and killed her. We're going toward the business district where there's been so many shootings that it is eliminate the business district.
Are there any significant employers in Homewood at all?
No.
No significant business?
No. There's some mom and pop stores, gas stations, and some nonprofits, but no significant employment. Of course, we have our funeral homes are doing great business, unfortunately. And most Italians are not business, they're not drug trade. They're killing each other over rep, over girls, over colors, mostly not colors, over territory, over streets. Mostly silly killings. And and there's the sort of things that might result in violence in a different circumstance, but maybe not death. Right.
Except
fighting,
for the prevalence of guns.
Guns. If you have guns on the street, then instead a fist fight turns into a shooting. When you have guns on the street, hard feelings in a moment turns into shootings because it's instant in a moment.
Is there an expectation among young men from this neighborhood that they will be armed? On the street, do people expect, if you are a man of a certain age, that you will have a weapon on you?
Most of the young boys, if they don't have a weapon on them, we think they do. This is Kazuki's Chicken and Waffles place right here. This was a thriving business when 3 masked gunmen came in and shot a young girl and a young man in a wheelchair, killed them, ended that business right there. It's never been opened since the shooting. Young Coles, her uncle and aunt are members of my church. She died. It was sad. The same thing with this restaurant that just closed here was a Kentucky Fried Chicken. Mm-hmm. Up until about 2 years ago. Another business just bought it and just closed it. But right here in the drive-thru, a 15-year-old boy was shot and killed right here in the drive-thru. And when he was shot and killed here in the drive-thru, they closed the KFC. And then there was a Family Dollar next door that was about to open. They had put in the Family Dollar name up. They had built a brand new building for the Family Dollar. When the young boy was shot in this driveway, Family Dollar pulled out of the venture, took the sign off, and the building's been vacant ever since.
And those business owners are closing those places because they believe that customers will not come here because it's too scary.
Well, they believe that not only whether customers come or not, they feel that the employees are in danger. And okay, They have a reason for it, because just a few years before this, we had a drugstore in Homewood. The manager of the drugstore, which I'll take you past, was making a day deposit, and they